to the Digital Digest, your weekly breakfast of insights, tips, and tricks, and general information for anyone trying to move things forward into the digital world of accounting. I'm joined today by John Martingale, the head of product management at FreeAgent. We're going to be talking a bit about FreeAgent's tax filing from space. So, look, this has been probably one of the biggest bits of news that came out of the Digital Accountancy Show, and I'm intrigued to know what this actually means, John. What does it mean by filing a tax return from space? Please give us the details.
Sure. Firstly, good morning, Ryan. Good morning, everybody. Good pleasure to join you today. To answer your question, what does this mean? Well, we decided that we wanted to prove how simple and straightforward our Making Tax Digital for income tax functionality was that we built into FreeAgent, and we thought some ways of doing that and really challenging our functionality, and decided probably the best thing that we could do is put a tablet up into space and make a submission from there.
Yeah, and I've seen it. It's not like you just put like a chip or something, and it was just an automatic press. You had a proper robot arm that came down and hit a button to make it more mechanical, didn't you?
We did, yeah. We wanted it to be authentic, and we wanted it to be credible, and we wanted to genuinely be able to make that claim of we have made a tax submission from space. So we absolutely went for like the true way of doing that. And as you say, we built a mechanical arm that we could then send up with our tablet and actually press the button that our users would press once they'd compiled all their data in FreeAgent and checked it. And was able to then push the button and make the submission to the HMRC services. They accepted it, and we were pleased to say that we were the first software vendor to submit a tax return from space.
Yeah, well, look, it's we now know the Alien software of choice for any of their tax compliance. But to kind of build on what this means, like sending something up into space, have a tablet. I guess most people, the first thought they go to is obviously setting up like a rocket ship, because that's generally what happens. But that wasn't what occurred here. So please kind of break down into the details of how did you get this tablet, this laptop, and the robotic arm up there?
Sure, yeah. And I've got to say, initially I was a little bit disappointed that we weren't sending a rocket up into space. When we first
I'm sure it was cost that stopped that.
Absolutely, yeah. We did have to think about cost and environmental impact alongside, the wackiness of sending a rocket up. But no, we partnered with a company called Sent Into Space, who have some expertise in this area, and we talked to them through what we wanted to do. And the best method was to get a balloon, fill it with natural helium, and then be able to send that up, launching it from a location in Sheffield. And there were some technical reasons for doing that. Obviously, we were sending up, we had to send up the tablet, we had to send up an internet device so that we could access satellite internet and then be able to connect to the HMRC service down on Earth. And as we've already said, we also had the robot arm as well. So we also needed a method of getting all of that technology up into space, up into the right, the right distance above the Earth, so that we could say that we were actually in space, and do that in a way without damaging anything as well. So the other benefit of the balloon was that we could increase the altitude at a sort of safe speed to make sure that there were no damages to everything. And then we had this combined challenge as well, which is, first of all, I think the temperature was about minus 43 degrees there as well, which for all of that mechanical and electronic machinery is a bit of a challenge. But also as well, to get a little bit technical and perhaps a little bit out of my depth, there's also a problem because there's no atmosphere up there, or the atmosphere is very, very thin. The heat dissipation becomes a problem as well. So it's minus 43, but there's a risk that the technology can also overheat as well, which seems crazy. But there's no way for those devices to actually get rid of the heat that they're generating as well. So we also had to take that into account. So there was lots of sort of technical challenges to overcome, which, again, working with Sent Into Space, they were able to help us and guide us through some of that, which then meant that on the day, everything, fortunately, went to plan.
And I guess one of the things, the biggest risk from my perspective is you just get automatically logged out. That's the thing that I'd always worry about with any of these things. It's like, oh, it's timed out, we can't file it now. So I assume you had something that prevented any of that happening.
We did, yeah. We had to think about that, yeah, the automatic timeout. We had to think about things like the IP address and where the location of that would actually be seen from our
fraud detection. Wait a minute, you're acting abnormally. We've never seen you file anything from space before. You must be not who you say you are.
Exactly, both from a free agent perspective and then from a HMRC perspective as well. So we had to check in with them and sort of check that the security protocols that they had, because as you say, yeah, that is some unusual activity to say the least. And yeah, we also had some of the challenges that we had to overcome as well, but just to make sure that everything worked, because like this worked, once we were up there, once the machine was up there, that was like a one-time opportunity to actually make this happen. Clearly, we didn't want to invest all that time and effort and then realize, like you said, that something we logged out or that the submission was blocked. But until I saw the image and the confirmation that the submission had happened and things had gone green, it was a sort of heart-in-mouth moment all the way through the flight, I must be honest.
I bet. So where was mission control for you? Was it just at the free agent offices or at home? Was it normal, or were you out on site?
I was out on site, yeah. So I travelled to Sheffield and spent some time there with the guys sent into space, and then was able to sort of really be involved in the process. And then funnily enough, the device actually, the way it launched from Sheffield, but actually landed just not so far from Cambridgeshire, which is where home is for me. So
cool. So yeah. it was making it easy for you. You could pick it up on the way back.
I did offer, but yeah, I wasn't trusted with the technology once it had landed.
So is there any bits that you managed to retain from this so that you've got some memorabilia, to go in a museum at some point, or is it all kept sent to Space Team?
We have our flight badges. So, like all good space crews, we've got some flight badges now that we can sew onto our jackets, and some pin badges as well. So you may well see, maybe at a future event, a Camtex or something, you might see one or two of us proudly walking around with our sent into space and our free agent in space badges.
I saw the whole overalls at DAS, and they look pretty cool, to be honest. But admittedly, I'm a giant geek, so this stuff I love, and I've got a science background, so anything that's space related, I'm very passionate about. But I think one of the things that made this even more pertinent recently is the whole full female crew going into space, and I guess that, as we said earlier, that makes you the Katy Perry of free agent. But was that planned? Was that something you knew was upcoming, you wanted to align, or was it just one of those things?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't something that was planned. And 3 weeks ago, I didn't think I was going to be referred to as the Katy Perry of free agent, but I'm sure that will be a moniker that now sticks for a little while. But no, that wasn't something that we were aware of. But obviously, good, interesting timing. I think, I think it's good to be sort of testing some of this technology in different ways and thinking about how we can, embrace all of this technology and send things into space.
I understand that. So, I guess what some people will say, I guess the cynics out there, well, this is a gimmick, right? This is just something that is done to grab some headlines. It doesn't mean anything, but I assume there's a reason for it. You touched earlier on trying to highlight the simplicity of making tasties, or in a period where people are concerned about it. So was that the main purpose? You were just like, we want to highlight the easiest way, or highlight how easy it is. Let's try and find the most extreme way of doing that. Was that the whole purpose?
It was, yeah. And looking at our track record, for making tax digital for income tax, the last pilot, do you remember back in 21, 22, when MTD was first about to go live, we had built all of the capability then. We were testing for HMRC at that point in time. And we'd also sort of built the workflows, and we're testing those as well, because that's really important to us. One thing is building and connecting to the APIs and getting that technology right. The other thing that's really important to us is making sure that the workflows are as straightforward as possible. And by workflows, I mean when an accountant or one of their clients uses FreeAgent and goes through the steps to make the submission, we wanted to make that as easy as possible and as straightforward as possible. And we've done lots of testing through those processes, and we've got really confident that we had sort of made it as easy and as straightforward as possible for users, which then allowed us to think more broadly and think, well, it's great that we're doing all of this testing with users and we're getting really confident. Yeah, what can we now do to show the world how easy it is and how easy MTD for income tax can be to adopt? I think, yeah, as you say, there's lots of concern at the moment about it and lots of worries. And I think we have an obligation as a software vendor to do our bit to demonstrate that it can be straightforward and that you can more easily adopt than perhaps you think.
Yeah, I think part of it's the filing, getting your system set up in a way that makes it simple. And FreeAgent have epitomised that you can do all of the basics in one tool. You've built out the property side, you've got the trade side, and so bring it all together for a single filing. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But what else, I guess, has FreeAgent done to simplify this? As head of product management, I guess that's been pretty much your focus for the last couple of years, is simplifying this. So try, for anyone that's listening, summarize to me, what is it that FreeAgent have done to make MTD as simple as possible?
Sure. Yeah. What we focused on, having built the MTD functionality, focused on helping users get the bookkeeping and the accounting right in the lead up to making those submissions, and building functionality to make that straightforward as possible. A few years ago, we added in our explanation functionality for bank transactions, so that we use machine learning, and we're now at a point where I think 65% of all transactions that are imported into FreeAgent are explained automatically with a 90% plus accuracy. And so we can give users the opportunity to be guided by the knowledge that we have of their past behaviour to predict how that transaction should be categorised, and then the user can just confirm all of those. We have built our smart capture functionality, which is similar to a Dex or some of the other tools that are out there, third-party tools out there, so that users can take photos of receipts and scan PDFs, and we can extract the data from them. And again, this is all about thinking about the processes that users will need to go through to get to the point of quarterly submission, and making that as easy as possible. And we're continuing to build out functionality. We know that CIS, registered businesses, contractors and subcontractors, will also, many of those will fall into the MTD category. So we're building additional capability around CIS as well. And all of these functions are useful within themselves, but it's all about making the bookkeeping and accounting as easy as possible, so that the quarterly and end of year submissions for MTD are then as straightforward as it possibly can be.
Yeah, and that's really the complexity. It's getting your data right, making sure that it is reasonable for those submissions during the year, even if your accountant is looking at them at the end of the year, because you're trying to maintain, I guess, a lower fee base. And if you're getting your accountant to review everything quarterly rather than just annually, you're at least quadrupling your costs. So it's providing the guardrails to make sure that your MTD submissions are reasonable. And as you say, right, the simplest bit, as you've proven by doing it through Space, is hitting the button. Once you're comfortable with it, hitting the button is really the simplest part.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and what we want to do is give accountants and small business owners the confidence that when they hit that button, that the data that they're submitting is accurate and it's accurate and comprehensive, and everything is there that should be there, so that if you're using FreeAgent effectively, then that will be the case. The other thing I should add as well, that from an accountant's perspective, we're also building additional functionality over the next year or two to make the process more efficient for them specifically, because we do recognise that if you're a small business owner, you're thinking about one quarterly submission. if you're an accountant, you might be thinking about 10, 100, maybe even 1,000. And so we need to be thinking, I think, about how we support users, accountant users, to do this at scale as well. So that's something that's in our mind.
And is that anything we can get kind of some sneak insights into, John, or are you keeping that under wraps at the moment?
Probably, yeah, keep us, unfortunately. I'd love to be able to tell you, right, but keeping that under wraps at the moment. We're currently at that stage where we're speaking to accountants to figure out the best approach that we can take. And once that's a little bit more concrete, I'm sure we can come back and tell you more.
Cool. Well, it'd be interesting to see how that evolves. I know that FreeAgent have been building out the product through your guidance to some extent, John, massively over the last few years. And it's elevated from not just being something for micro businesses, but through into small and in some cases medium, depending on what you do and how you operate. And I think that's something we're seeing a lot more in the product, is how you build out that functionality, and integrations has become a key part of that. And I think it's just been an influx recently. Like I think over the last month, there was at least 4 big players. So is that still one of your big focuses, is building out that marketplace and allowing flexibility and approach?
It is, yeah. That will continue to be a focus for us, but done in a well-considered way. So that what we want to do is, work with a set number of vendors that are we can recognise will add quite specific value to accountants or to their clients, rather than making it free for all. We're not looking, I guess, to be the software vendor with the most third-party integrations. We're looking to be the software vendor with the best quality third-party integrations, which is a slight difference. But yeah, it's something that we will continue to grow and focus on for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I commented on recently on the podcast is how strong your marketplace is. It's not huge, but it's strong in what's in there. They're good quality apps, and you're making sure the integrations are good quality. And that compares to, I guess, where Xero have got to now, where the marketplace becomes so big, it's overwhelming for people. Keeping it succinct to some extent means that it enables choice, but choice with, I guess, the ability to still understand what the possibilities are, rather than just not knowing where to start.
Yeah. Something along those lines. Like I said, every software vendor will have their choice on the approach they want to take with these things. But yeah, ours is a little bit more around, as you say, having choice, but doing so that that choice doesn't become overwhelming. That said, it is an open API, so other software companies are welcome to build to us and connect to us. And I think that combination of us, we're in growth, so we're seeing more and more businesses, whether that's micro, small, or as you said earlier, even bigger, sort of joining FreeAgent. I think that, combined with the ease of use it is to connect to us, it does make us quite an appealing integration partner now, which is a good thing.
So you still have kind of like an unverified and verified approach. That sounds like if you've got an open API. So from a volume perspective, how many are verified compared to the unverified, as a overview or a rounded number?
I think still about 80% of them are verified.
Yeah.
We generally find, we have an integrations team, and we will invariably contact anybody that's starting to build to us, just to find out a little bit more about what their tool is doing and how it might be able to, what their tool is doing and how we might be able to help them. And that interaction then often leads us to, verifying is probably too strong a word, but to us working.
Well, I think it's a good thing to put on that. How do you assure quality, like in this? Because I assume sometimes they're reaching out to you and sometimes you're reaching out to them. So how are you not ensuring, right, but trying to make, or because ensuring is a strong word, but how are you trying to make sure there is a quality connection and a quality product that you're working with?
Well, again, our interaction with them will involve our engineering team, and so we can understand like the quality of the data connections and the way that they're using them to some degree, and that gives us some confidence in those vendors. And again, those conversations that we have will then lead to us making a decision of whether we want to list them on our marketplace or whether they could still build a connection, but and they could free to do with that what they want, whether it's a one-on-one connection to help their company or whether it's something that they list on the website. But we wouldn't necessarily list all of those software.
So you still turn people down. You still go, okay, well, strategically this doesn't work for us, and unfortunately we're not going to kind of list you here.
Yeah. That could happen for sure. And in terms of us approaching them, which you're right that we look for opportunities and software vendors that we feel would be good for our users and add value. Yeah, exactly, and add value, and then work with them. And again, it comes back to like more and more software vendors are keen to work with us now because the quality of our APIs is good.
And I think that then becomes harder, right? As you get to a certain scale, verifying or ensuring, is a strong word, the quality of the ones you work with becomes a challenge. So do you have preferred partners that you kind of advertise as preferred? Do you think you'll ever get to that level, like that you've grown, to a level of integration partners that you now need to show these are our preferred, our strongest relationships, the ones we do know that have a really good quality connection? Do you think you are there or will get there?
If you look on our website already, I'm not sure the language we use is preferred partners, but if you look in our connections area, we do have some vendors that we do promote more readily on the front of our website, and that is to do with our confidence and the way that we're working together with those partners means that we have more confidence in them as being a good partner, a suitable partner. And they're adding clear value and benefit to a proposition that our users can then adopt.
And do you have, this is the bit I love, right? So this is why I'm diving into it. But do you have, or have you ever had to get rid of someone off of the platform because they have, maybe not adhered to the same qualities that you wanted or you agreed with them at early doors? Or do you think that could happen if it hasn't happened yet?
The only examples I can think of where it's happened is with either, so we look at the connections that are happening with every third-party tool, and for some vendors that we're just not seeing any data connection for a number of years. So eventually we turn it off and disconnect them, just because there's probably always a slight security concern of having somebody connect up to your system that's not being used. Like why why use it?
What's
and the then as we improved our website, the actual integrations area of our website, some vendors, we wanted to verify some information and get some more information from them so that we could be a bit more consistent with our listings. And from memory, I think some of the vendors, for whatever reason, didn't provide us with the information that we asked for. And so we decided to no longer list them because, we see value in having communications, at least with those vendors, and them knowing us knowing them. And so we would, I think we did remove a few vendors from the listings because of that, which again.
And I'd assume just naturally that would probably expand. The more that you add, the longer the relationships go on, that's likely to happen. But do you see that there are more apps that people are naturally using? Do you track this at all, like the volume of the utilization of app partners, and maybe in those discussions, especially with those on the front line, you can feed that information in and they can have more strategic conversations with the accounting partners? Does any of that happen yet?
Yeah, absolutely. We we're a company, we do like to measure what we're doing and set ourselves targets.
By a bank, so I get that's probably mandatory.
And we're all numbers people to some degree as well. So everybody loves to look at a graph. But no, seriously. So we are monitoring like the number of connections that we have, how often data is being transferred between connections, and we set ourselves some targets for that so that we can make sure that as we're adding more software integrations, we want to see more activity, we want to see more usage, because that's a proof point that we're then working with third-party vendors that are adding value, because the true way of knowing that you're adding value, right, is because
It's by utilisation.
their clients. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
So we do monitor that, and yeah, we work with the third parties, so we wouldn't share with them all of the information, but we can tell them, we do tell them how many connections we've got, and then that can sort of help us then plan what we want to do next with them. Do we need to do more to promote the integration? Do we need to do more to show the value of the integration and some of the capability that then allows either the accountant or the client, so they can have those conversations and make sure, ultimately what we want to do is make sure that our users are getting the most value from the effort that us and a third party have gone to build the integration in the first place, right?
I completely get that, and I'd assume that Metal is probably one of the largest volume of I guess sharing of information back and forth, because of how deep a relationship that is, and because of the whole free version of FreeAgent. If you're using a Metal account, I'd assume that's probably the one you see the biggest.
It is, yeah. Like for all of those reasons, plus the fact, like you say, the integration is so deep, and linking this back to Making Tax Digital, even the categorization of transactions is linked, is synced between the two. So, we expect there will be small businesses in the future that are doing their accounting in the Metal app, and then fortunately the accountant is benefiting from that through the categorization from Metal being linked direct to FreeAgent, and automatically allocating the transactions in FreeAgent to the right categories.
That makes sense to me. And something that we've seen recently is the fact that bridging software seems to be coming now to the fore for Making Tax Digital for income tax, which is a frustration for the likes of myself and John and Indy, that are very much in the world of tech and integrated tech and automation, and not just looking at a sticking plaster, but evolving what you do. And I think the key thing that there needs to be a lot more awareness still out there is that FreeAgent is still free. Like, you don't need to pay any money for it if you're using the right bank account. So that is something I assume is still going to be there for as long as that you can say that it will still be a free product for businesses if they're a member of using Metal or NatWest, I assume, in general.
Yeah, for the foreseeable future. There's no plans to change that at all. Yeah, and Metal is free banking as well, so that's worth pointing out. So, I know some business bank accounts, there's a monthly charge to them, but with Metal you can access your free account, so you can get a business bank account and FreeAgent with no cost at all. So, personally, without even my FreeAgent hat on, I see that as a much better proposition than using a spreadsheet and bridging software. But I understand to some people that solution will also have its place.
Yeah, there's always the anomalies, right, that needs the bridging software because of the change that are in place. But I love the fact that essentially FreeAgent are building out that ecosystem, that solar system to some extent, with themselves as the center point of the sun. That is my tenuous link to the initial story we had with you filing from space. But if anyone wants to learn about or see the video about how you sent something to space, where would they go to, John?
If you go into freeagent.com and our blog area, then we have got a nice little write-up of everything that we did, and then a link to the video itself. The video does include me, so I think the main thing that I've got out of all of this is my kids now call me a YouTube star, which so Katy Perry in space today and a YouTube star before that. So not been a bad couple of weeks for me personally either. But seriously, cool. So freeagent.com, blog, MTD in space, where we get to find all the information.
Nice. Well, thanks so much, John, for coming on. It's been a pleasure. You've, I guess, satisfied something that I've always wanted to do, which is talk about space in anything that I do, being a physics degree holder and a science nerd. So thank you so much for coming on, John. Anyone that wants to learn more about tech in the accounting world, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Digital Disruptors. Follow our podcast, Digitals in a Cruel World, and also subscribe to our new newsletter. I can't even say that. Our brand new newsletter that was launched last week. You can find out information on this by going to our LinkedIn account, Digital Disruptors, and just hitting subscribe. Thanks so much for listening. If you want to hear future ones, this comes out every Thursday at 9 a.m. and we look forward to speaking to you again. Thanks again, John, for coming on.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everyone.